Charles Moskowitz here. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for watching. You know, it is certainly a very beautiful day here in Boston and in my state, but yet, you know, it's the new normal in my city, my state, my country, and in the world right now, as the streets are deserted and we're all coping with the obvious, the coronavirus epidemic, and it's a serious problem, obviously. And I hope everyone stays healthy and safe. It raises in my mind, however, a couple of questions that I think are worth speculating on when done responsibly and carefully. And that is, what's going on here in terms of potential conspiracy? Is there a conspiracy behind this, or is this just simply a run-of-the-mill virus? Are there politics involved in the origins of this? Is it a biological weapon, as some people are saying, coming out of China? I don't know. You don't know, my listener. None of us know, because we're just, regular folk. We can't know. But I do think that it's appropriate to wonder, when something is happening like this, which is literally changing the way we are living right now, in a way that I can't remember anything quite like this in my lifetime, and I'm old enough to I've been around for a while, so it's requiring us to, in a sense, become self-quarantined and sheltered, and it sort of sets up a situation that we're not used to seeing in this country. But so let me just speculate again in a responsible manner on a couple of thoughts I have. Firstly, I think it's safe to say that Communist China is still and remains a communist empire and an enemy of the United States and an enemy of freedom. And that President Trump has taken them on for the first time since Nixon opened China back in 1972. And he's done so successfully. He has gotten them to agree to accept a reasonable and sustainable tariff on their imports, which protects American industry and labor. That he has started the process of controlling their intellectual theft of American properties. That he's gotten a subsidy, gotten a contract which results in gains for the American farmer. These are using American leverage, or what we have still, in our advantage and to improve our nation. China probably doesn't like that. Is this an attempt to wreak revenge by releasing this virus? And do they really care about their own people? Probably not. The broader questions, and again, I'm not pointing to any particular conspiracy because I have no idea. I don't know. None of us average folk know. But the situation as it stands is one that could help an agenda that has been in place in this world and always has been in place in every generation, but one that took on greater powers and acceleration, I would say right around the time of the outbreak of World War I, and that is an international order that is an unholy alliance between political figures, governments, private businesses on an international scale, and other sort of thinkers, and that is to move the world toward an order, a world order, and to reduce, if not eliminate ultimately, the sovereignty of governments and thus the sovereignty of individuals toward this idea of a collective state. Karl Marx laid it out in very clear terms in the Communist Manifesto. It doesn't have to be called communism, it's called different things, it doesn't matter. The fact is that it's a centrally controlled world by elites who have money, or they have power, or they have persuasion, and they tend to operate in concert. Now, that doesn't mean they're all sitting around in a smoke-filled room. I don't think that's true. But they all think alike, and they tend to coordinate alike. And that their thinking is that national sovereignty, and thus individual sovereignty, is a bad thing, that we're not capable as individuals and as nations of governing ourselves, and that they have some kind of a mandate to control us and to control our destinies, and that they believe this is a virtue. They think they're doing something good. Many of them are well-meaning. They actually think they do know better than the rest of us. Some of them are not well-meaning. They know full well what they're doing. They're conscious. But there are a lot of people around the world, various apparatchiks and supporters, who aren't conscious and who are well-meaning and who have been taken advantage of because they've embraced a view that supports this. Now, what does this have to do with the coronavirus? Well, I think it had a lot to do with both world wars. I think it had a lot to do with things like the Great Depression of the 1930s and various famines and catastrophes around the world. These are things that weaken individual ability to assert sovereignty and to assert individuality, and things like the sexual revolution. I mean, E. Michael Jones talks about this, and I think quite accurately, the introduction of sexual license and vice as a way to weaken and distract the individual initiative and to take our attention away from controlling our own lives and our own destinies. And it's, these things weaken a society, they weaken a culture, they weaken a nation. Well, the coronavirus, in a de facto sense, might play right into that. Doesn't mean that they've manufactured it. They certainly may try to exploit it in a way that benefits them. But the fact of the matter is that a virus like this, which sows fear, and legitimate fear, by the way, let's be careful, may cause us to be willing to sacrifice elements of our freedom, may get us used to and conditioned to the idea that we need to give up that freedom and to let others control us, because otherwise we'll die. And we have to be careful whether or not this is a conspiracy, whether or not this is manipulated, to make sure that we understand that this is something that could happen. We could get used to the idea of being quarantined and curfewed and, control of goods and services, right? I mean, we don't have enough of the so-called kits and, even basic foodstuffs and toilet paper and whatnot, that these things are controlled, that they are run into shortages. These are things that can manipulate us and manipulate our society in a way that gets us used to a very limited and unhealthy way of life. And maybe that's part of this. We can get used to not having the prosperity and the normalcy that we have come to get used to. That could be a double-edged sword, I'd like to end with the thought of, and that is that on the one hand, even if we are being manipulated to get used to giving up these things, on the other hand, it could reassert within us a sense of taking care of our lives on our own, of preparing, of being sovereign in the real sense. And that's a good thing. So there's both good and bad that could come out of it. But anyway, I just wanted to share my thoughts on the topic. Whether or not there is a conspiracy, again, I have no idea, but it's worth speculating on. And again, Charles Moskowitz, check out my website, charlesmoskowitz.com. Thanks so much, everybody, and be safe and have a great day.